All right, we do have maybe an overheat. The tool is dead. Hey YouTube, welcome back to Tinker with Tools. Tonight we're going to be talking about reliability with the new Hercules brushless line. So let's get right into that on Tinker with Tools. So by now you've probably seen plenty of information on the performance of these Hercules brushless tools. We've done our initial first impressions video, and so far I have to say that I'm impressed with the tools. The lingering question that I have though is going to be, how is the reliability and dependability of the tools? Now Harbor Freight is offering a 5-year warranty with the Hercules brushless line. It will be listed on the different tools that they offer it on. It is on both of these tools, and so it does give you a little bit more confidence on the tools. But we know that sometimes that doesn't mean a whole lot, that certain tools can still prove to be unreliable. So what I want to do tonight is I actually want to showcase a little bit of a torture test that we've done for both the impact driver and the drill to kind of push the tool to its limits and see if we experience a failure. Now, these tests are not designed to break the tools necessarily. I'm not just going to go drive some massive lag and see if we get a failure on the tool. But more, it's going to be repetitive actions with the tools that is going to push it a little bit and try and see if we experience a failure as the tool heats up or as it gets further into the testing. Now, first off, we are going to be doing the impact driver. Now, this test was actually done over a week ago, and so you are going to see footage of me wearing a different outfit. But let's go ahead and showcase what happens when I tried to drive roughly 200 3-inch drywall screws back to back to back to try and see if this tool experienced any sort of performance degradation or cutout. We are going to be in speed 3, and it's a freshly charged 5 amp hour Hercules battery. All right, so as you can see, we actually fared quite well with the impact driver. We ended up driving 184 screws. That's roughly what ended up fitting on there. If I've learned any lessons, it's one, how much I hate Phillips bits. That was clearly apparent in that testing. But the other thing that was apparent is that even though this tool became almost unbearably warm to use, we saw no difference in the performance or the functionality of the tool. Now with the impact driver, we did see the tool itself heat up quite a bit, but because of the task we had chosen, the battery actually was faring quite well, and although it warmed up, did not get to the point where I'd expect to see any sort of failure there. So the tool did not spit any oil, it did not smell, nothing smoked, everything worked as I would expect it to, and the tool was still functioning at the end of the test. So when it comes to the dependability and reliability of the impact driver, I think it gets a pass. Now, if you're going to be pushing it further than what we did today or doing something of a larger task, you may see different results. If you do experience any failures, make sure to drop that in the comments down below so we can kind of gather together some information about the reliability of the tools. All right, so then the drill. What we ended up doing with the drill, the goal of the drill was to try and push it to the point where we would see some sort of power cutout or something like that with overheating or just some sort of failure due to the repetitiveness of the task. We were drilling using a 1-inch spider boring bit to start. I did switch over about halfway through the test to a 13/16 spade bit. So let's go ahead and show you that footage. Starting to get warm through the gloves. Tool itself is up to 130, 132. All right, we do have maybe an overheat. The tool is dead right now. All right, so now coming back, we did see a cutout with the tool. We stopped to take temperatures there, as you'll have seen. And we did, when we tried starting up the tool again, the drill just did not want to go. I actually tested it with the 4-amp-hour extreme performance battery, and the drill was still working. The battery itself, the 5-amp-hour that we used, did not function on either the impact driver or the drill right there at the end. But now, as you can see, it is working again on both tools now that it has had time to cool down. Now, as far as how far we pushed it, we did roughly 53 holes in pretty quick succession. I'll have the time listed of how long it was from the start of the test to the finish. Now, if I'm being honest, I'm not aware of a task where you're going to be drilling that many holes that repetitively in that short a duration, causing the tool to heat up that much. Now, you might actually find a task where you are pushing it there, but I just think that for the most of the jobs, this tool did fare quite well. Even up to the point when it refused to go on because of the battery, the drill was still drilling just fine. There is no noticeable difference in the tool's performance now that it is cooled down. Now, some differences between the impact driver and that. With the impact driver, most of the heat was coming up here from where the motor housing is. That was the hottest part. There was a little bit right here on the handle that did heat up just a little bit. With the drill, the motor was obviously getting quite warm, but right here throughout the middle of the handle, that must be where some of the electronics are that are going to heat up the most, because that was the part of the handle that got actually the warmest. The motor ended up being the warmest part, but that was a very close second as far as overall temperature. And then obviously the battery did heat up quite a bit, ultimately leading to that. I think both tools are going to be dependable enough for you to be able to push them and expect that they're going to be there and perform for you. Now, obviously, if you're going to be doing something outside what we tested tonight, you certainly can push these tools to a breaking point, I'm sure, just like you could with any brand. But so far, even though I had some initial concerns about the initial quality of the tools and some of the fit and finish, I think that the actual performance and the dependability of the motor, as far as we've been able to test it today, is going to hold up. The only thing we saw was an overheating of the battery. And so it appears the batteries do have some sort of protection to protect you from completely destroying them by just pushing them to their limits. So as I mentioned earlier, the point of these tests was not just to try and break the tools and see if we could do that. We could certainly do a more demanding drilling task. We could just keep hitting it as hard as we can and try and get the tool to smoke, but that wasn't the point of the test. It was simply to push it to a point beyond what I think is most reasonable for most people. And we certainly saw the tool perform well up to the point when the battery overheated. The impact driver never once came out and is still going strong and still performing well in other types of testing. So I think there was plenty to be positive here. If you've had a different experience with these tools up front, go ahead and leave it in the comments down below. If you like the video, go ahead and hit that like button. And as always, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing and share the channel with someone if you think it would be helpful to them. I appreciate all the support. Until next time, I'll catch you on Tinker with Tools.